Sabre season wraps up at home against the Philadelphia Flyers with a win. Let's put a bow on the 2024-25 Buffalo Sabres. Coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into this Friday edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast, and thanks for making us your first listen every day and making us your first listen throughout the entire Buffalo Sabres season. Another year where they missed the playoffs, a 14th year of the playoff drought, and for this show, a 6th year of us doing a podcast about a team that none of those 6 years made it to the playoffs. So absolutely appreciate everybody listening throughout the year. And whenever, just like, once in a while, I'll look at like the Apple, Locked On, or not even Locked On, hockey podcast charts. And we're always pretty high up on those things. And it blows my mind because of the quality of the team. But Sabre fans are always there to listen. So appreciate you guys throughout the year. A lot to get to on today's episode of the show. Of course, if you are a YouTube watcher, be sure to like and subscribe us there. And for the offseason, for news, when we get to free agency and maybe some trades, and then, of course, the draft, which is months and months away, join subtext.com/LockedOnSabres. You can become a text club member there, so be sure to sign up. And we got a lot to get to on today's show. Sneaky Joe DiBiase here on the podcast, and the Sabres get the win. We'll talk a little bit about the final game of the year, and then locker room cleanout day. If you know me, I do not love listening to sports player talk. It is very generic. It is very just give me the quote that I need so that I can put a headline together, and you don't often get a lot of the nitty-gritty of a sport. So watching an hour plus of players saying the same things over and over, but there are some interesting things. It's like 5% of what we heard today, but that's how it goes. It's not on the Sabres. That's just how sports is these days. So a couple of interesting things that Dahlin talked about, Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch, and Jason Zucker. So a couple of things from locker room cleanout day to get to. And Dahlin as a leader came up a lot during today's locker room cleanout. So I got a couple of thoughts on that. And we did not have a show yesterday. We are going to make that up this weekend. So stay tuned this weekend, Easter weekend. But Lindy Ruff and Kevin Adams are expected to meet with the media tomorrow. And we'll see what we get from the GM and the coach. And I get this question a lot. I'll actually start it as our text question of the day before we get to anything else about Adams and whether he is going to be back. Do not just assume this 95% chance Kevin Adams is the GM again this offseason and into next year. I don't think he's getting fired. But don't just assume that because he's doing a press conference tomorrow, that means he's not getting fired. He probably is not getting fired. But Tim Murray, once upon a time, did do a press conference after a season. Then he went and had his exit interview for the season with ownership, and they fired him. So you never know what could happen. But yeah, I don't have any thought that Adams is about to get fired. I'm not expecting it. If I saw the notification pop up on my phone, I think my jaw would hit the floor. As the Sabres actually literally sent a notification this second, and I know for you watching, this is not live for you, so you probably already know this, but Sabres are sending Yuri Kulik and a couple of others, Roseanne, who we know, Noah Oslin, and Tyson Kozak, all down to Rochester. So Yuri Kulik down to Rochester, and that's good because he's going to be a part of the Amerks playoff run. And there was a question about that, whether he would go to Europe to play for Czechia at the World Championships, or if he would go to Rochester to play for the Amerks in the playoffs. So very cool. Very happy to see that he's going to be playing for Rochester. So before we get to locker room cleanout day, the final game of the year and what we saw from it, it may be inevitable that we're going to get a lot of goals in this game, right? Because players are a little bit looser and, the season's about to end. You're not going to get bag skated tomorrow morning. Practices are over if you don't perform or you don't back check or you don't play super hard. So not to say they didn't, just a lot of offense was maybe anticipated. So you got that, a 5-4 final. And for me, looking at this game, because it's just kind of back and forth, the Sabres did outplay the Flyers, in my opinion. Looked like they wanted to win it more. Being on home ice, that probably helps for this. Send the fans home, with don't have it be awkward when they come out on the ice for the jersey off your back giveaway, where a season ticket holder, you give them your jersey right there face to face. Just don't the goal of the night. Don't have it be awkward when that person comes up to you and you've just lost like 5-0. Win the game. And they did. Peyton Krebs, by the way, shout out to him because he played a great game. He had a lot of scoring opportunities. He had 4 breakaways. It was at least 3. And he did score on one of them, shorthanded, forehand, backhand, a nice move for him. So what I'm looking for out of this game really is statistical. What types of milestones, what kind of final numbers did guys put together? And you have a couple that stood out from this game. One of them, I guess you could say, is Krebs, who I just mentioned. He set his career high in goals, not a very high number, but it's his first time ever reaching double-digit goals. He got his 10th of the year on that shorthanded breakaway. Ryan McLeod scored an empty net goal to get to 20 on the year. So Ryan McLeod can now say that he has a 20-goal season to his resume. His last couple were empty netters, but still, overall, it was a much better goal-scoring season for him than he had ever had in Edmonton. So 20 goals for Ryan McLeod. Alex Tuch matches his career high of 36 goals. So that was big for him. He had 36 goals 2 years ago, obviously, in the 2022-23 season. So he matched that. And elsewhere from this game, J.J. Peterka scored again. He got up to 27 on the year. Jack Quinn got up to 15 on the year. And James Reimer, who was very good down the stretch, obviously. He ends up winning 10 games on the season, 19 starts, a 10-8-2 record. That was the one other thing from this game. Horrifyingly, terrifyingly close to I don't even want to say anything about it. But man, when James Reimer is sitting in the crease and he kind of frantically takes his glove off and starts patting his neck, man, that's scary. And the referee came right over. Players looked concerned for a moment. And thank goodness that James Reimer did not have that skate hit him any harder, because I think they showed it on the replay when they came back from break. One of the Flyer players, I think it was Poling, kind of went down to the ice and his skate came up right in the crease, and Reimer was down in the butterfly. And it looked like the back of his skate kind of tapped Reimer on the side of the neck, actually underneath his guard, because Reimer wears a clear guard protecting your neck. And it looked like they showed in the replay when they came back a little bit of a mark there. So he did kind of get touched, but no cut, no nothing. And, obviously your mind can go to a million different places that are really bad on that front. So thank goodness that James Reimer's okay. And he might retire now. So, he talked about that a little bit after, kind of maybe sounded like it might be it. But we'll see, because Craig Anderson sounded like that once upon a time, and then he did come back. So I don't think Reimer will be back, but he got the win, got his 10th of the season with that win last night over Philadelphia. So that's the final game of the year. Otherwise, the only other thing I wanted to mention before we get some locker room cleanout stuff, Noah Ostlund and Isak Rozan. 2 guys, Rochester guys, going back down to the Amherst, and they'll be playing important roles for the Amherst. To me, 2 very different-looking players in the NHL. Ostlund, every time I watched him play, I thought, this guy's going to be an NHL player. This guy, he's not there yet. No doubt he is not there yet. He physically is not there, and he didn't get a chance to play with great line mates. So I give him a little bit of a break on this front, but he didn't produce any offense. 0 points in 7 games. But he did create some scoring opportunities. He looks very good as a skater to me. He looks pretty smooth, good stick handler. And I saw some good hockey IQ plays from him over the 7 games that make me really think he is going to be 8 games, He's going to be an NHL player. No doubt he's going to be an NHL player. And I think top 6 NHL player, at least middle 6. Rozan, every time he's up, I just don't even really notice him. I look for him too. And I don't see much. I don't see much that makes me think he's going to be an NHL player. And that's fine. You don't hit on every first round pick, and maybe I'll be wrong about him, but I think you're more likely going to see him be a career AHL star. Remember Mark Mancari for this? Mark Mancari, to go back pre-drought era, was a great AHL player that I always remember reading about or hearing about when I was a kid. Like, he's down in Portland or he's down in Rochester. He's got 30 goals. And he just never really did it in the NHL. He played 42 games in his NHL career and he scored 3 goals. But meanwhile, his AHL goal totals were 20, 18, 23, 21, 29, 28, 32, 30, 22. That's his time in the Sabre organization in the AHL. He was dominant down there, and he wasn't in the NHL. So sometimes you get a guy like that. The one key difference there would be Mancari was a 7th-round pick, and Rosen was a 1st-round pick. So in that way, you would maybe hope there is more. When we come, and last night was the same thing for me. Oslin showed some things, and I didn't really notice Rosen all that much. All right, when we come back, locker room clean-out day. Some interesting things that I heard, and Dahlin as a leader was coming up a lot. So all that ahead here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. This episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast is presented by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. That's it. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from the EA Sports College Football game, which I love. I play that a lot. The Call of Duty Black Ops 6, NHL 25, of course. That's my go-to. I love EASHL. Stream your favorite shows, too. It's gaming made simple, all on your Fire TV. With 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. And of course, on all of those, NHL playoffs coming up, right? Play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. If you already have a console, a Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your games wherever you plug in. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller is required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. Back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, the Sabre season comes to an end. 79 points on the year. Their over-under on the season at FanDuel Sportsbook was 87.5. So they went under by 8 points. And 79 points, the 5th highest point total for the Sabres during this playoff drought. Almost amazing, right? 14-year drought. That was the 5th best season in terms of total points. The first year after the drought was higher with Ehrhoff and Robin Regeer and all those guys. 2 years ago was higher, of course. Last year was higher. And then there was one other in the middle there somewhere. So anyways, didn't a 10-game win streak season, maybe. They got to 80. No, sorry. 15, 16. The first year after Jack Eichel, they got to 82 with O'Reilly and Evander Kane and all of them. So locker room clean-out day, it is a very familiar feeling for a lot of these guys and a lot of the guys that met with the media, whether that is Tage Thompson or Rasmus Dahlin or Alex Tuch even to this point. Thompson, Dahlin more than the others. And then some new guys like Jason Zucker. So picked out some of the most interesting things that I thought I heard from all of these guys, and we'll talk about them, and then we'll get some offseason stuff as well. Let's start with Jason Zucker, because he made a comment about something that was a different sort of question than a lot of the other guys got. The other guys kind of talked about the same types of things. But Jason Zucker got asked a question by Mike Harrington of the Buffalo News about the Sabres and their reputation league-wide. Because Zucker, of course, just got here and has played many years in the NHL for Pittsburgh and Minnesota and more recently Arizona and Nashville last year. So he's been around the league. And, Zucker says some things that are interesting to me and some things that where I think, Zucker might not be the best person to ask this question to. He's the guy we got, so it's who gets the question. But I don't want to take Zucker's words as 100% fact that he's speaking for every player, every GM, every coach in the league. Every fan, too, even. Zucker says he disagrees with the idea that the Sabres have this bad reputation around the league. He said, here's his exact quote about it. Quote, from Jason Zucker, I have never heard a word of it until I got here. That's not this. There is not this aura of the Sabres over the league. Honestly, I disagree. You guys are in it. Now I'm in it with you, with everyone else in the city. There's not this aura that the Sabres are the laughingstock of the league. It's not what it is. I've been, speaking of Zucker, of course, still, it's been a tough stretch for the team, and I'm learning that this year. Last year when I was in Arizona, that felt a heck of a lot worse. Playing in a college arena, not even selling it out, then getting moved. You look at guys like Clayton Keller, Lawson Krause. We're talking about not making the playoffs. They're talking about never playing in front of a home NHL arena. Home fan base. It's easy to sit here and look at your situation when you report on the Buffalo Sabres. So you look at this organization, but it's way different on the outside than on the inside, looking at a 15-year drought. So Zucker even kind of shows from his personal standpoint that he doesn't even know how long the drought is. He doesn't know the number. He thinks it's 15, or he says it offhand. And a lot of Sabre fans, most Sabre fans, I don't think would even make that mistake. I would never make that mistake, of course. I mean, I talk about the team daily, so I know the number is 14. Zucker doesn't. And I almost feel like he's not the greatest champion for the league on this because he just kind of said it. He came from Arizona, and he's right. Arizona's was way worse. Way worse. Mullet Arena. It wasn't even their college rink. They were playing they were borrowing a college rink, renting out space while Arizona State played their home games there as well, and it was their arena. And they did pay their bills, and there was threats of the team moving, and you had so few fans there in the first place. He's definitely right. Arizona was a lot worse. But come on, that wasn't normal. That wasn't normal. Most 99.9% of players that have ever played in the National Hockey League have not experienced what Jason Zucker went through in Arizona. That's not a great comparison, in my opinion. So I'm not saying that he's on to something, and where I want to give him some credibility, given that it wasn't just Arizona last year. He had been in Pittsburgh before that, in Minnesota. He'd been around the league, as I mentioned. So he's not ignorant on this subject at all. He's more informed on it than I am. But you've heard enough from other players, former players, and these think pieces that have been done. ESPN did one about a month ago, talking to people around the league. Some definitely have this feeling about the Buffalo Sabres and have this idea that it is cursed. Robin Leonard talking about the dark cloud that exists over Buffalo. So maybe, though, we overstate it. Maybe it's not as true. I will give Zucker that he's right. He's got to be right. That it's not as bad as we make it out to be. But here's the thing about that. If it's not as bad as it's made out to be, that it's like a horror movie where you look out over, someone tells you of Buffalo, how dark and depressing it is there, and then you look out over the mountains, and there's this castle in the distance with this dark cloud around it. It looks like this evil, scary place. Like, oh, that's Buffalo over there. Okay, well, if that doesn't exist, then I get to criticize the GM more, right? Fans get to criticize the GM more, because if what Zucker said is all true, then there's no excuse for the GM not being able to land good players. And there's no more excuse making of, oh, well, nobody wants to come here. Jason Zucker says that most guys wouldn't have a problem with it. So now, it's about money, huh? It's about motivation to go get these guys. That's where I don't fully believe it, because I don't believe that the Sabres don't run into problems. I think they do run into some problems with players around the league wanting to come here, no trade lists and whatnot. And if Zucker was 100% right, then I don't think you would have the near as much issue as the Sabres end up having. So that was the most interesting thing I think that I heard. One of them, Rasmus Dahlin. So Rasmus Dahlin talked about admitting that 7 years here and not winning, it has worn on him, but he talked about how committed he is and like it makes him more desperate to want to get it right. He almost kind of uses it as anger motivation. He talked about his captaincy, and he interestingly answered a couple questions about being involved with Kevin Adams. We know about this meeting between Dahlin and Adams from the trade deadline, and remember that started the whole Paul Bissonnette thing, and whether Dahlin wanted out or not. So we know he's been in contact with Adams. Dahlin got an interesting series of questions about being involved. One of the reporters, I'm sorry, I didn't know who exactly it was listening because they're not mic'd up in the press room. The reporter asked this offseason, how involved do you want to be in the conversation with Kevin on the next direction of the team, and have those already begun? Dahlin's response, I'll do whatever it takes to get us in the playoff spot. The reporter follows up, do you want to have ongoing dialogue with him on ways to improve the team? And doing my best Dahlin impression, he went, sure. And then they left it at that. That was Dahlin's response. So, okay. Dahlin maybe being involved a little bit on what they do player-wise. Now, he wasn't going to talk about what he wanted and veteran players even. So that's kind of where that got left. The one other thing Dahlin said, quote, we better come back in good shape. I hope everyone has their best summer. It's been a recurring theme here from Lindy, Adams, and now Dahlin a little bit, that they want these players to come back in elite shape, better than they did last training camp, it sounds like. Also from Locker Room Cleanout Day, Alex Tuch says he has not given much thought to the contract extension yet at all. The Sabres can't even offer him anything until July 1st, of course. So we'll see where that goes. And then Tage Thompson, he talked about Dahlin as a leader. I want to take a break and get back to that when we return, because Dahlin, we didn't get a lot of details from anybody about Dahlin as a leader. Tage gave some good ones, and I want to get to that when we come back here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. This episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast, we are brought to you by the JP Morgan Corporate Chase. Want to remind you about that. It is coming up, and you have got to get in the next month. This year, Buffalo businesses, it's time to register for the JP Morgan Corporate Challenge. Thursday, June 12th, it features a 3.5-mile course through Delaware Park, followed by celebration with a DJ, lawn games, and a tented experience for you and your teammates. So walkers, joggers, and runners are all welcome, whether you run for the love of it, for your company, or if you're just trying to come network, build some lasting bonds. This is your moment. Teams of 4 participants or more can register today. Registration closes on Tuesday, May 13th, so get in on it now. 1 part run, 1 part party. The Corporate Challenge has earned its reputation as Buffalo's corporate social event of the year. Join us for great competition, teamwork, company pride, and a true sense of accomplishment. Go to jpmorganchasecc.com. Choose Buffalo as your location to start your registration today. See you on the course. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres also presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. The Stanley Cup playoffs and the NBA playoffs. It's a great time of the year for the sports calendar. And it starts this weekend. FanDuel giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So I'm looking at some series props right now, and I am looking at Toronto to win in the first round because it seems to never happen. And I think they're finally going to do it. They got a little bit of an easier matchup with Ottawa. I like looking at some Conn Smythe odds, by the way. I think Carolina has got a really easy path to the Stanley Cup. Kachekov and net, somebody else, Aho. That's a good way I like to do it. Go over to FanDuel and think of a team you think is going to go all the way, and then look at the individual bets, the players, and how many points, goals. That's what I like to do when we get to playoff time. And of course, in the NBA, you get 3-pointers and steals and assists. You got all the props available. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com. Claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Last segment here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. I want to talk about Rasmus Dahlin and his leadership style and a couple of things that we heard from today, because every player really got that question. And for the most part, they all kind of said the same thing. Nothing really super detailed. In fact, nobody really wanted to get any details except for Tage. Tage Thompson said to me the most interesting thing about Dahlin as a leader. Because even Dahlin, I kind of, again, I'm not someone that likes player speak. Player speak is just generally designed to not let you know what's actually happening behind the scenes, to not make any headlines, with the occasional thing that leaks through that's actually really interesting. So Dahlin got asked about the best way he would describe himself as a leader, which I'd love to hear details about that. But instead, he said, on the ice. And he pretty much left it at that. And I was listening like, rip my headphones off. Tage, thank you, Tage, for saving me a little bit in my sanity today, because I don't know what Dahlin's like behind the scenes at all. I can guess. I see how fiery he is on the ice, and I could guess what he's like in the locker room, but I don't know. So is he a speaker? Does he talk at all? Does he go after guys if they're not getting the job done? And that's a little bit of what Tage led to today when talking about Dahlin and his leadership style. Tage Thompson, he said just in general that accountability was better, but always room to grow is what Tage said. And that a lot of guys that take these losing seasons very hard want to try to fix it bad. And that's another quote where like that, he didn't say that was about Dahlin, but I might want to guess it is. So then now he talks about Dahlin. And he said, to be brutally honest, being open with each other. It's an environment where if you're not willing to get called out by a guy, then you're in the wrong business. Me and Dahls give it to each other more than anybody, is what he said about, and that he appreciates that he and Dahls give it to I'm doing the locker room pet name here. Him and Dahlin give it to each other more than anybody, and that Dahlin will get after him, and that he appreciates that. So if Dahlin's willing to kind of get into it with Tage, who, again, there's a respect there and they would be friendly and they've been teammates for a long time together. So like, you want that. I think you want that. And if he's willing to be like that with Tage, I would assume he's like willing to be like that with everybody. And he's got Tuch behind him, and he's got Zucker behind him. He's got this group of veterans that I think are trustworthy. So to me, Dahlin as a captain, I think they made the right call. I think they waited the appropriate amount of time. I think it probably went pretty well for the little we know about what he is as a captain. And I think he's up to it. I think Dahlin is up to it after 1 year. And I think we got that sentiment today from everybody that was asked about it. So there you go. Locker room clean out day. More players, I believe, are scheduled to speak. I'm waiting to hear from Bo Byram, because he's the guy that I continue to think is not long for the Sabres and does not want to sign a long-term extension. And every time he talks, he just doesn't make me think any better or think that it's any more likely. So wait to see if we get from Byram. We did hear from Greenway already and a couple of others, McLeod. So Lindy and Adams, who we're waiting for now. And we'll talk about that this weekend. So enjoy the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm excited to talk about the playoffs, even though the Sabres not in it again. We'll talk plenty of Amerks throughout the playoff run, which gets rolling soon. They wrap up their regular season, I believe, tonight. So Rochester will be exciting, especially since Kulik's going down there. And if you are looking for more right now, this second on the Stanley Cup playoffs, be sure to check out Locked On NHL Game Nights. Make them your second listen every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. That'll do it for us. We will talk to you this weekend as Lindy and Adams talk. And I'm assuming they're not getting fired before that. So we'll talk to you then. You're the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.